Today is Friday, September 17, 2021. Coming up on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network. In North Carolina, State Supreme Court blocks voter ID laws. Law discriminates against black people. Wait till you hear what they said about the legislature and what they tried to do. The only political action committee focused on black political engagement is celebrating 5 years of service. We'll talk with the founder of the Collective PAC about what the group has accomplished and what they're going to do moving forward. A court date has been set to hear arguments against Texas's fetal heartbeat bill. We'll talk with a doctor in Texas about exactly what this bill is. The FDA rejects the use of the Pfizer COVID booster on everyone except those over the age of 65 and those who are high risk. And NBA Hall of Famer Isiah Thomas goes on Jason Whitlock's show to say he's opposed to the playing of the Black National Anthem at sporting events, but also some other issues dealing with race. I'll unpack this and give you a breakdown of the history of Let the Voice and Sing, Star Spangled Banner, but also why the right wing is all of a sudden so interested in the National Black Anthem. It's time to bring the funk on Roland Martin Unfiltered, streaming on the Black Star Network. Let's go.
He's got it. Whatever the biz, he's on it. Whatever it is, he's got the scoop, the fact, the find. And when it breaks, he's right on time and it's rolling. Best believe he's knowing. Putting it down from sports to news to politics. With entertainment just for kicks, he's rolling. It's on go, roll, roll, y'all. It's Roland Martin, yeah. Rolling with Roland now. He's funk, he's fresh, he's real, the best, you know he's Roland Martin now.
North Carolina Supreme Court ruled the state's photo voter identification law is unconstitutional. In a split decision, the court ruled the law was, in fact, discriminatory against African Americans. The judges barred its enforcement and agreed with minority voters that Republicans rammed through rules tainted by racial bias as a way to remain in power. Joining us right now is Reverend Dr. T. Anthony Spearman, president of the North Carolina chapter of the NAACP, the state conference of the North Carolina NAACP. Reverend Spearman, I'm always glad to have you on Roland Martin Unfiltered. This is why voting matters. The state Supreme Court, the final arbiter of laws in North Carolina, make the ruling. Republicans were desperate to take control of the Supreme Court. Democrats, had Sherry Beasley won as state Supreme Court justice, would have had a 6-1 advantage. Really now it's 4-3. But this shows you why voting matters, putting the right folks on these state Supreme Courts.
Roland, thank you so much for having me on. Good to see you again. And but I have to reel you in a little bit because this decision that came out today, this ruling that came out today, was actually at the Superior Court level. So we've got a ways to go before we get to the the state.
Got it. Okay.
State Supreme Court. And this is the North Carolina NAACP actually has a very similar case that. This was fought by the Southern Coalition for Social Justice, and Holmes v. Moore is the name of it. And so, this is a state challenge that challenged North Carolina state Constitution in Article 1, Section 19, dealing with the equal protection of laws. Our case that will be is slated for January 24th through February 4th is a federal lawsuit that actually challenges the kind of same thing, but by way of the Voting Rights Act, the Section 2 of the Voting Rights Act. And so therein lies the difference. So today's victory was indeed that, but we're certain that there's going to probably be an appeal that comes unless the plaintiffs are able to bypass the Court of Appeals and go straight to the state Supreme Court.
So, and when people have to understand, you've been dealing with this for a while. You had previously federal judge ruled that the bills there were, frankly, racially driven, where they said there was a laser-like focus targeting African Americans. I mean, Republicans in North Carolina were very vocal, if you will, very public with how they were targeting black people and trying to limit the power to vote because they were angry that President Barack Obama won North Carolina by 14,100 votes in 2008. And they did not want to see black voters exercising that power on statewide races and as well as in other races in North Carolina.
And they still don't want to see it. And the measure that you're speaking about, was House Bill 589, which was probably the most draconian of all of the voter ID or all of the voter suppression laws that we've seen recently. And everything that they're doing since then has been the very same thing. They're trying to come back in different, from different angles, if you will. And we are proving to them that we have the capability to be as wise as serpents and harmless as doves as we fight them, because we are realizing that when we fight, we win. So we're hanging in there. We're coming back and attacking them from various angles and aspects, and coalition partners are joining in with the fight for the voter ID or to keep it out of the state of North Carolina. And so today's victory was very meaningful to our suit that is going to be coming in January.
And so we talk about this. This is important because what you have on the federal level, now you have Senator Joe Manchin of West Virginia, who is trying to push for this national voter ID. If they are successful on that level, that hurts what you're fighting right now in North Carolina.
Right. Exactly right. Exactly right. And so the very thing that we're seeing is there's a kind of a lobbying from the Superior Court to the Court of Appeals. Court of Appeals, we definitely have no friends on that court. And so the best angle that we can approach things by is to make an attempt to get to the state court or state Supreme Court as immediately as we possibly can and bypass the Court of Appeals. We just had two recent lawsuits here in the state of North Carolina. We had a victory with the felon disenfranchisement challenge that we brought, and the lower court, the Supreme Court, had the decision ruling in our favor, and immediately the legislators came and appealed it, and they were able to get a turnaround of the lower court's decision. But it's hopefully going to be temporary because the trial court has to come back in place, and when they do their findings and facts and findings, I believe that we're going to be on the merits of the case, we're going to win.
Just for folks to understand, this right here is the ruling of the courts, and this is what the majority writes. North Carolina has a long and undisputed history of enacting racially discriminatory voting laws. They said the sequence of events was marked by departures from normal legislative procedure. That the voter ID constitutional amendment followed immediately after racially gerrymandered districts were ordered redrawn and departed from normal practices. The Republican supermajority departed sharply from normal procedure by rushing to enact the bill during a lame duck session before it lost the ability to override Governor Cooper's veto. And then it goes on and on and on. Proposed amendments to SB 824 that could have benefited African-American voters were rejected. I mean, these judges lay out. In fact, they also saying here, African-Americans are more likely to lack qualifying ID than white voters. The burdens of obtaining qualifying ID, including free ID, fall more heavily on African-American voters. I mean, these judges lay out a damning indictment of how white Republicans in North Carolina were doing all they can to screw over black voters in North Carolina.
Most definitely. But we're going to continue to fight. And I would give you an invitation, Roland, to bring your unfiltered self here to North Carolina when we go back into the courtroom in January of 2022.
I've been there a few times on this issue, and so we got no problem coming back. Reverend Spearman, it's always a pleasure. We appreciate it. Thanks a lot.
Thank you so much. I appreciate being
I
on.
want to bring my panel now in to discuss this, folks, just so we can understand what's going on here, because, again, it is significant because it has ramifications across the country. Michael Imhotep hosts the African History Network show. Faraji Muhammad, radio and TV host. Kelly Bethea, communication strategist. Glad to have all three of you here. The thing that really jumps out here, Michael, is when you look at this whole deal here, I mean, it is racially driven.
Yes.
Simple as that. And when you get all these black Republicans out here caping for the GOP, not wanting to accept what is reality, this right here says all you need to say, because they wanted to stop black people from voting.
Absolutely, and I'm reading the article here from CNBC, and the Wake County Superior Court also said that the law, quote, would not have been enacted in its current form, but for its tendency to discriminate against African American voters. So all these, now I'm neither Democrat nor Republican, but all these black Republicans, Larry Elder, Candace Owens, all these black Republicans who would have turned in Harriet Tubman because Harriet Tubman was stealing the master's property, they have to explain this. You're talking about leaving the plantation, but some of these people would have turned in Harriet Tubman, like Larry Elder, who said that slave owners should get reparations because it was legal and they had to give up their property. He probably would have turned in Harriet Tubman. When they go in to talk about the impact that poverty has. See, I'm trying to figure out, can this ruling be used to deal with other issues pertaining to the African American community? The majority decision noted that because black people in North Carolina are more likely to live in poverty than white people, they thus are also more likely to, quote, face greater hurdles to acquiring photo ID, end quote, as a result of not having a car or being able to get time off from work to do so. This ties into what they're doing, the bill they just passed in Texas, which shuts down the drive-through voting, but also voting after hours as well. So I'm trying to see, can this ruling be used to deal with some of these other laws as well as it goes through the federal court, Supreme Court?
Well, only if
as
you
a
talk,
precedent.
well, only on the federal side.
Yeah, as a precedent.
You know, not on the state side. And again, I go back to it, Kelly, for the people who sit here and who love talking about, man, why y'all sitting here talking about voting, why y'all talking about voting for Democrats. If you had 3 Republican judges, this is not how the ruling was going to go down.
Exactly. And just to show how insidious and how important voting is, the governor originally vetoed this law from being enacted, and it was overridden in state legislature to be enacted anyway. So that means that even the governor agreed that this was unconstitutional. It shouldn't be on the books. It shouldn't be enacted whatsoever. But because of the hold that Republicans have in that state and in the legislature specifically, they were able to override even the governor's veto to keep that racist law going. This is the same state that did gerrymandering with surgical precision in the last couple of years, just to make sure, like you said, that another Obama would not be elected by the electoral votes in that state. So I'm happy to see that, you know, we got this ruling today, but like your previous guest said, we have a long way to go because this is not the end-all be-all court regarding this matter. So we have to keep, you know, putting pressure on state legislators in North Carolina and elsewhere who have laws like this on the books to make sure that they are overturned and eradicated altogether.
The thing here, Faraji, when we would look at this ruling here, what it clearly establishes is what happens, or what we're seeing happen with Republicans across this country. That when they have the power, they're going to wield that power in a very clear way. And this is absolutely a result of black power. The judges wrote this. This pattern has repeated itself at least 3 times during North Carolina's history. The North Carolina Constitution of 1868 guaranteed every adult male citizen the right to cast their ballot in a free and fair election. From Reconstruction to the end of the 19th century, this resulted in increased African-American political participation. In response, Democrats implemented an amendment to the North Carolina Constitution that required passage of a literacy test and payment of a poll tax as preconditions to register to vote. Then it says the literacy test and poll tax resulted in the wholesale disenfranchisement of African-American North Carolinians and their removal from the political life of the state. Following the passage of the literacy test and extending through the enactment of the Voting Rights of 1965, African-Americans, despite the effects of Jim Crow policies, achieved some hard-won political successes as a result of persistent and determined efforts to mobilize residents of black communities to present themselves to the literacy test repeatedly in effect to challenge the literacy test. And then it goes on in terms of exactly what the legislature did and how they tried to do it. And I love this here. Officials claim that these actions were needed to protect against voter fraud. In reality, they were designed to thwart growing black political power. Sounds familiar.
Absolutely.
Hey, Brother Roland, I mean, I think that piece speaks volumes about what we're doing, what we're seeing right now. I mean, here we have a state that is going back and forth about the issue of black political power. And I think that, you know, this whole ruling was based upon a 2015 analysis, which showed that here, and check out these numbers, the analysis found that 9.6% of black registered voters lacked acceptable ID for voting under a prior voter ID bill, as compared with 4.5% of white registered voters. So we're seeing that black people are once again put in the back. And the thing, I think that we need to start having conversations about is, now that the judges are pushing back on this voter ID bill, how do we at the same time empower our people to not get caught up in a situation where they don't have ID issues? Now, one of the big things is getting access to getting IDs. That's the gap that, as black people, as a community, we can fill in the gaps. If somebody in North Carolina lives in a rural area of the state and they can't get to the city or any town, then how is there a black transportation service that can provide that service to help fit, to fill in the gap? I mean, we have some reprieve here with this ruling, but now this is where the community can step up to help our brothers and sisters. That way, our brothers and sisters aren't in a position to be waiting on some mystery God. We can be empowering one another.
So just understand this here. Let me go back. So this is what the judges wrote. Shortly after the enactment of the Voting Rights Act through the present day, African-American representation in the General Assembly increased due to judicial intervention, including the decision to enforce the Voting Rights Act and force states to take down many of the barriers to African-American voting that were erected in the 50s and 60s. These measures resulted in a dramatic increase in black political participation, including a 50% increase in black voter registration by 2010. But check this out. During this time, the state Republican Party continued to attempt to suppress black voter turnout. They mailed postcards to thousands of voters in heavily black precincts, warning recipients incorrectly that they would not be allowed to cast a ballot if they had moved within 30 days, and that if they attempted to vote, they would be subject to prosecution and imprisonment. Between 2000 and 2012, black voter registration in North Carolina increased by 51.1%. Black voter turnout, listen to everyone who's watching, listen. Black voter turnout increased from 41.9% in 2000 to 71.5% in 2008.
Come on.
And in 2008 and 2012 elections, black voters in North Carolina registered. Guys, thank you. Please stay on this. Black voters in North Carolina registered at higher rates than whites for the first time in the state's history.
Come on.
That's to get, see, that happened, that 2012 presidential election.
No, 2008.
See, no. It said 2008 and 2012.
No. It said between 2012 2012, but it was 2008. Right. It was the Obama won. Remember, Obama wins North Carolina by 14,100 votes. He lost North Carolina in 2012, but they were still scared to death of the numbers.
But what I'm tying this to is what happened nationwide. Nationwide in the 2012 presidential election, the percentage turnout of African Americans registered to vote was greater than the percentage turnout of white people registered to vote. That scared the hell out of white people. That scared the hell out of Republicans. And what did they do? They came back and attacked us in the courts with Shelby County versus Holder, 2013 Supreme Court case that gutted the Voting Rights Act, gutted the pre-clearance, the oversight dealing with the Voting Rights Act. And what this shows right here with this ruling, courts interpret law. See, this is why Republicans fought so hard to get 225 federal judges confirmed under dumbass Donald Trump. With Mitch McConnell in control of the Senate after Mitch McConnell blocked 103 federal judge nominations by President Barack Obama. See, we have to understand. See, we have to understand the role that the courts play. Also, it's not just the state legislature. That's important. It's not just the governor. Courts interpret the law. That's what this is doing. Now, lastly, Roland, the question I had: did they shut down DMV's Department of Motor Vehicle locations?
No. No.
Okay, because that's what they did in Alabama.
Yeah. No. What they did is they used their power in the legislature, but the difference is they got stopped with the lawsuits on the federal level and now on a state level as well. And so I just need everybody to understand when y'all talk about, man, you sitting here talking about voting for Democrats. Republican judges, Republican legislators want to strip you of your right to vote. Now, this is real simple. It's them or the Dems. It's Republicans or Democrats. Now, y'all can sit here and play stupid all you want to. But all I'm saying is this here. If I got to pick between one party that is deliberately trying to strip us from having the right to vote and one party that's not, who the hell you think I'm going to pick?
Not only that, they're trying to block everything else that's beneficial to African Americans. All these other bills, Republicans are voting against. When you look at the $1.9 trillion American Rescue Plan that has $46.5 billion in rental assistance for renters and landlords, that's keeping a lot of black people in their homes, who blocked that bill? No Republicans in the House or the Senate voted for the bill. I'm neither Democrat nor Republican. I sure as hell ain't stupid. I can look at the history and I can see what's taking place. Now, there's some Democrats, they need to have their ass kicked and voted out of office too. I'm for that as well. But we have to understand that elections have consequences, and we're talking about self-preservation.
And no one is sitting here saying, "Oh, Democrats are perfect." But again, y'all, the courts have shown Republicans in North Carolina, they specifically asked, "When do black people vote early?"
Exactly.
Oh, most of them vote the first week. We're gonna limit early voting to one location in each county for the first several weeks. Y'all can play stupid. Some of y'all out there who watch, y'all be sending me these old dumbass tweets and sitting here, oh man, you sitting here, you tap dancing for the Democrats. These fools ain't playing.
Exactly.
They do not want to pass anything that benefits black people. Nothing. Nothing. Faraji, then Kelly, then I'm going to my next door.
Just real quick, and this is why community organizing on a grassroots level is so important. I was happy to hear our brother from the state NAACP chapter talking about, the work that the NAACP is doing in the courtrooms and getting that process moving along. And I'm with you, Brother Michael. This is one of those situations where you need a multi-pronged strategy to employ, because it's not just about the NAACP. A lot of our people, we look at these major civil rights institutions as being the one-stop shop for everything, and we lose we have lost the sense of what these institutions were all about. These institutions were not to be the one-stop shop for civil rights. These institutions were to serve as guides for us as a people so we can become empowered. And so if the community is not up for this, I'm still at the point that you have so many Black North Carolinians or Linians who don't have access to proper IDs. Why is that? This is 2021.
Because one, first we got to understand this here. There's about 20% of the population who actually don't even use driver's licenses. They don't. I mean, I think one of the mistakes that we make is that we assume that other people are flying, they are driving. No, it's a lot of people who aren't. It's a lot of people who don't have bank accounts, okay? Who use their utility bill to be able to cash a check, whatever. And so that's one of the mistakes that we make. What we got to remember is that they also put up barriers, even getting a free ID. And so that's where we sort of get caught. Kelly, a final comment before I go next door.
I absolutely agree with everything that's been said. I just wanted to make clear that the minute that any of these laws stop benefiting white people, specifically white Republicans, that's when they're going to be overturned. So for those who, like you said, just are frustrated with the either or situation being Democrats or Republicans, Republicans do not care about Black people. They simply do not, because if anything, they could have taken this opportunity over the past 20 years to actually revamp their platform to see how Black people can be integrated into it so they can actually grow their base, so they can actually get the votes that they want and the like. They don't want that. They want white supremacy. They want white retained power. They do not care about anybody else being, in the mix so long as they are on top. So when you are in a predicament such that you only have two choices, where our political system is so binary, you have to pick the lesser of two evils, meaning both of them can be trashed whenever they want to be. Right. But one of them is going to and has proven to have some benefit towards Black people. So I'm going with the lesser evil option.
Well, bottom line is here, don't go to sleep, people. This thing is real. Now, if we are not voting, then how are we putting our own into public office? The Collective PAC, they are celebrating their 5-year anniversaries, which is focused on building Black political power. They, of course, are dedicated to increasing Black political engagement and actually supporting Black candidates across the country. There are a variety of festivities which begin today, over 100 elected officials and political candidates here in D.C. for events like a concert featuring Grammy Award-winning artist Nas, as well as being entertained by DJ D-Nice, of course, who won the NAACP's 2021 Entertainer of the Year. Joining us right now is the co-founder of the Collective PAC, Quentin James. Quentin, glad to have you on Rolling Unfiltered. You were just hearing us talk about, again, trying to fight for voting rights to ensure we can get to the ballot. Bottom line is this here. If they're blocking us from getting to the ballot, they're blocking us from electing Black candidates.
Exactly. And that's a huge challenge. One of the reasons that we started the Collective PAC was because of the numbers. They're so, against our community in terms of where we are with representation. So right now, 90% of people in public office in this country, right, are white. 95% of the elected prosecutors in the country are white. And over 84% of Democratic candidates and 96% of the GOP candidates are also white. And so when we think about our representation, and we just had the census come out, think about how do we make sure Black voices are at the table. Yes, we have to have voting rights to make sure folks have the ability to cast their votes. We also got to have Black candidates stepping up to run, who are running well-funded and competitive campaigns to win these seats. And so these things go hand in hand, and we can't do one without the other. And so I think it's a very timely conversation. It's unfortunate that we're still fighting about these issues around voting rights, but it's a strategic decision. I think your previous guests were saying this is intentional because they see the writing on the wall. This country is becoming blacker and more browner and more diverse. And so that means that if they're going to compete with us numerically, they got to change the rules. And so that's what we see happening around the country.
Well, and I'll give a perfect example. I brought it up earlier. Sherry Beasley was the state Supreme Court justice in North Carolina. She lost by just 400 votes. 400 votes.
Statewide, exactly.
Had she won, Democrats would have a 6-1 majority on the state Supreme Court. The guy she lost to was a white male Republican who was pissed off that he wasn't elevated as Chief Justice and chose to run against her. He beats her. Republican wins his seat. Now the Democratic majority on the state Supreme Court is now 4-3.
Exactly. And that is the challenge here is, sometimes our opponents are playing chess and we're still kind of playing checkers. This is a very strategic game. And I think candidates like Sherry, who's now running for the U.S. Senate, and folks should go to her website, sherrybeasley.com, to find out more information about her. We have to support these Black candidates who are stepping up to run across the country this year, in the next cycle, 2022. We will have competitive African Americans running for the United States Senate in really important places. You mentioned Sherry Beasley in North Carolina. We also have to re-elect Raphael Warnock in Georgia. Congresswoman Val Demings running for Senate in Florida, Lieutenant Governor Manila Barnes running for the U.S. Senate in Wisconsin. We have some very competitive candidates running in Pennsylvania, including State Representative Malcolm Kenyatta, who was here with us earlier today. And also in Kentucky, we have our good friend, Brother Charles Booker, one of the youngest people elected to the Kentucky House of Representatives in previous, is also running for the U.S. Senate. And so we have some really important races where folks, to your point, will need every single dollar and every single vote, because we saw, as you mentioned, a race decided by less, than the 400 and something votes. And so it's really critical that we understand that this is an important opportunity for us to build Black political power in this next year and a half.
And for folks who also don't understand, one of the biggest problems that Black candidates have is money. If you look at members of the Congressional Black Caucus, you don't have major fundraisers in terms of people who are bringing in a ton of dough. And so what happens is people say, I'm praying for you. No, guess what? Your prayer ain't gonna buy any TV ads or radio ads or pay for any field staff. And so that's also why we're having a Black Political Action Committee is important for folks who are running for federal and statewide office and local office.
Exactly. But many of these candidates are depending on, these grassroots contributions, $5, $10, $25. We're not asking you all to mortgage your homes to become donors. What we're saying is if, you can commit, right, $10 a month to supporting Black candidates around the country, once we get to scale with that, right, where there are 10,000 Black people doing that every month, or 25,000, right, or 100,000, or 1 million doing it every month, then we can start to fund these campaigns, and our candidates can actually spend more time talking about issues that matter to them, right? They can spend more time connecting to voters who they need to turn out and support their campaigns. And so the money in politics is a big, issue. We saw after the huge wave that we saw in 2008 with Barack Obama being elected, the Supreme Court decided in the Supreme Court case Citizens United versus the United States that money is now equal to free speech. And so we're seeing floods, right, of millionaires and billionaires becoming major political donors because they can now spend unlimitedly to make sure their voice is, kind of overrunning the people's voices. But in this country, we have this principle called one man and one vote. And so it's critical that we understand our power as voters, but also understand our power as donors to make sure our candidates have the same opportunity to have their voices heard in these really important races.
And for the people who say small donors don't matter, the reality is that's what powered Senator Bernie Sanders' campaign, those small donors. And so, this is not, I don't have 1,000 or 1,500 or 2,000 to give. No, a whole bunch of $5, $10, $20 adds up pretty quickly.
Exactly. And let's, be clear, before Bernie, there was Barack Obama, right? I mean, let's understand that playbook was very much developed and run by the first Black president of the United States. And people forget that Barack Obama even though we kind of, we're all in those moments in 08 and 2012, he was outraised both times in his elections, right? And so it was important that all of us were giving our $5 and $10 and $25 amounts to his campaign, because it was able to keep him competitive in the fundraising when they were running against really a billionaire class who was very against, what we're trying to create as Black leaders, Black progressives, Black elected officials. And so that is a really important point that you raised, Roland, around don't underestimate the power not only of your vote, but of your dollar. That is the one change of our politics that our ancestors did not have to deal with when they received the right to vote, right? There was not this kind of understanding that Black candidates couldn't compete financially with fundraising, right? Because what we know, right, through folks who've won in 2020, 2018, the average U.S. Senate campaign right now cost around $10 to $20 million. $10 to $20 million. The average U.S. Congress campaign cost around $1.5 to $2 million. And so when we think about these candidates and having to, raise that kind of money coming from our communities, where we know all the stats around poverty, all the stats around Black wealth in our community, right, has been devastated due to not only COVID, but the economic depression and everything that we've kind of gone through. The recession of 2008, 2009, we know these stats, right? And yet and still, we can make a huge difference when we come together collectively and contribute money to support these candidates. And so I am very encouraged by what we're seeing around the country right now with grassroots donors supporting Black candidates. They're building multi-generational, multicultural coalitions to compete around the country, but we still got to do more. And so I want to say to your viewers, thank you for what you already have done, but don't, rest on those laurels. We have to continue supporting both with our votes and with our dollars, Black candidates who are running across the country.
Events this weekend. So is the concert and party taking place tomorrow?
Yes, exactly. We are bringing some of our top artists and creatives to the people. Tomorrow night, we're doing a show in Washington, D.C. With Grammy Award-winning artist Nas. Arguably has one of the best albums out in 2021. People may debate me on that with Drake and Kanye, but I think Nas is one of the best albums out right now. But also the NAACP Image Award Entertainer of the Year, DJ D Nice, who's been rocking Club Quarantine throughout the pandemic. We are excited to come together for a party with a purpose, right? The proceeds will benefit the tremendous Black candidates running across the country. We have over 100 candidates who are in town right now who'll be there mixing and mingling and talking to folks about why they should be elected to Congress, to Senate. We have Black women running for governor. We've never had a Black woman governor in this country. We can change that over the next 18 months. And so we're excited to invite folks. We encourage your viewers to come out and have a good night with us tomorrow night.
All right, then. Well, look, we got to cover the Howard Hampton game tomorrow at noon. We'll be there. We'll also be streaming the halftime show. And so expect to see a brother at your event tomorrow night. So be coming through. So it'll be a long day, but it'll be a Black day.
Exactly. And we really appreciate your support, Roland. You've been with us from the very start. So thank you for your platform and for committing to connecting what we're doing with your audience. Thank you so much, Roland. I
appreciate it. Thanks a lot. Let's see you tomorrow night.
Perfect. Thank you all.
All right, then. Let's go back to our panel here. The money piece is so crucial. It's so crucial. And what Collective PAC does matters, Kelly, because if you're a candidate out there and you meet their standards, so they say we're going to back you. I mean, look, to be able to have that mailing list going out there endorsing you, I mean, it's just huge. And people, I'm not joking when people say, yeah, I'm praying for you. That's not going to pay any bills. And yes, it is an arms race that is money. And one of the things that I think with the election of Obama that people really, I think, underestimate, it taught a lot of Black folks about bundling. It taught them about the power of small donations. And we really have seen since that election how it has had a trickle-down effect for other congressional races, U.S. Senate races, statewide, local races, because they begin to understand, oh, hold up, so my $5, $10 put together with 10,000 other people, is some real money.
Money is money. Money is, if it's real money, it's real money. I can't tell you how many times I have either volunteered on campaigns or have seen my friends volunteer on campaigns simply because the money isn't there to pay them. Campaigns cost money, period. It costs money to canvass. It costs money for the flyers. It costs money to attend the events. Everything costs money. Even the things you don't think cost money cost money. And as from national elections to the most local of elections, everything has a cost. I live in DC, and some of the most local elections, like just for like ward elections of any sort, can run you a smooth 10 grand. And sometimes they actually get that money. How? By the $1 donations that you just talked about. $1 adds up. $5 adds up. $10 adds up. And you will always have, like, you know, your occasional person who will donate, you know, a larger amount for sure. But it can't be all, the burden can't be on that one person with the largest checkbook. It takes all of us to run a campaign. It takes all of us to fund a campaign. So like you said, the prayers, they're appreciated, but you need some prayers that fold and can be deposited as well.
You know, the thing here that, again, why these PACs matter. You know, we sit back, Faraji, and we watch these campaigns, and there are people out there, and they just assume that, oh man, it's sort of like, to me, like an investment. I don't have all this money. I can't do anything, and I can't. And what always happens, they always go, where's our black celebrities, our black entertainers? Well, not realizing that there are actual federal limits when you talk about running on the federal level and the different state laws. And so somebody can be a billionaire, but they can only give X number of dollars. And so when we say every dollar matters, it does.
Absolutely, Brother Roland. And going back to what you said about former President Barack Obama talking about bundling, I think a lot of now candidates have taken that script from his playbook of small donations matter. And it's important that we understand that if we could put a candidate in office by giving $5 here, $10 there, what's stopping us? And this is what I was thinking about even when Barack Obama was running. I said, if we can put money into that pot, what's stopping us from using that same collective will, same social and political energy from saying, okay, let's establish a black bank. Let's do some other things. If we can bring money together, if it's in a situation where, the money is going to be managed properly, if it's in a situation where there's trust established, what's stopping us? I mean, this is just the tip of the iceberg in changing the dynamics of power in this country. And what I love about what Collective PAC is doing is that it's celebrating the wins, and then at the same time, it's giving us a model. And you and I both know, Brother Roland, there have been number of models, both nationally and locally, about how we can get black folks in office. What we now need to do is start to really take the lessons from all of these initiatives and projects, put them together and start looking at, okay, how can we get our next candidate back into the White House? Or how can we get our next candidate for the governor of this state and that state? I mean, PAC is doing the fantastic job, but PAC needs to be supported by other PACs. And I think that's the thing. But we can see just in the layout of how, candidates get into office, we can use that same model to start doing some other things for our people in our communities.
Michael?
Yeah, this is really important, and I'm glad you had Brother Quentin James on today. This is an example of why African-American-owned businesses are so important, economic empowerment. So we can finance things like this and finance our own politicians, not so they can have a job, but finance people who are going to write laws and pass policies that are beneficial to us, okay? And so this deals with, I hear one of my teachers, Dr. Claude Anderson, speaking in my head right now, but this is something that he's been talking about. We have to finance this. And we have to take the money that we earn from our own businesses, which is why we have to support our own businesses as well, to control the economics and the politics in our own communities. This is something Malcolm talked about. People think Malcolm was against voting. Go read, I ain't say listen, go read Malcolm's speech, The Battle of the Bullet. Malcolm talks about registering every black person in Harlem who can vote, registering them as an independent. You can be independent, you can be Democrat, whatever it is. It's about the policies. This is something Malcolm talked about. And Malcolm talked about interjecting black nationalism into the civil rights movement after he leaves the Nation of Islam. So this is extremely important, but this is the physical manifestation of people's pontification. So this is something that we have to replicate as well, support and replicate.
Absolutely. And so we'll, again, continue to be following this. So congratulations for Collective PAC. All right, folks, got to go to break. We come back. Congresswoman Maxine Waters is letting it known when it comes to who she wants to continue as a housing regulator. We'll also talk COVID on the show as well. A lot of other stuff we got to talk about, folks. You want to support what we do here at Roland Martin Unfiltered by joining our Bring the Funk fan club, where every dollar you give goes to support what we do. Of course, you can support us via Cash App, $RM Unfiltered, PayPal.me/R Martin Unfiltered. Venmo is venmo.com/RM Unfiltered. Zelle, Roland@RolandSMartin.com, Roland@RolandMartinUnfiltered.com. And all the folks who give on those 4 platforms, I'll give a shout out during today's show. I'll be back in a moment.
I believe that people our age have lost the ability to focus the discipline on the art of organizing.
The challenges, there's so many of them and they're complex, and we need to be moving to address them. But I'm able to say, watch out, Tiffany, I know this road.
That is so freaking dope.
Time to be smart.
Roland Martin's doing this every day.
Oh, no punches!
Thank you, Roland Martin, for always giving voice to the issues.
Look for Roland Martin in the whirlwind, to quote Marcus Garvey again.
The video looks phenomenal, so I'm really excited to see it on my big screen.
Support this man, Black Media. He makes sure that our stories are told.
See, this difference between Black Star Network and Black-owned media and something like CNN.
I got to defer to the brilliance of Dr. Carr and to the brilliance of the Black Star Network.
I am rolling with Roland all the way.
Honored to be on a show that you own. A black man owns the show.
Folks, Black Star Network is here.
I'm real revolutionary right now. Roland was amazing on there.
Stay black. I love y'all.
I can't commend you enough about this platform that you've created for us to be able to share who we are, what we're doing in the world, and the impact that we're having.
Let's be smart. Bring your eyeballs home.
You can't be black-owned media and be scared.
You dig?